welcome to the final episode of JuliaCon, the podcast, on the final day of JuliaCon, the conference. I'm one of your hosts, Nathan Daly, and I'm joined with our other hosts here, Huda Nasser and Keno.
Hi!
And this is the final episode titled Last Week This Morning. So thank you for coming. We have today two very special guests. We're interviewing Jane and Avik, the two co-organizers for the JuliaCon Conference 2020. We're going to talk to them about a bit about themselves, their backgrounds, and then about the conference overall. But we're going to start first today, like we start every episode of the last 3 episodes so far, with a hello segment, where we're going to do a quick hello from a member of the community and spotlight that. So Ahan, if you're able to unmute your video, come on the podcast and say a quick hi to everyone.
Hi, I'm Ahan. I've been using Julia for about 4 years now, and currently I've been working on game development in Julia.
That's awesome. Thanks. Is this your? This isn't your first JuliaCon. You were at least last year there, yeah?
Yes, I was at London and Baltimore.
So this is your third JuliaCon
yes.
now. That's awesome.
Yes.
And is this the first year you gave a talk?
No, I gave a talk last year, lightning talk.
Oh, cool. What was your talk on last year?
I can't remember.
That's okay.
That is okay.
That's totally okay.
I did watch your talk this year, and it was. It looks like the game development package will be a lot of fun. When I get some more time, I want to sit down and play with that again. Yeah, looks really cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and saying hello. We're looking forward to seeing you again in person next time we have an in-person conference. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So really appreciate everybody who's come on for our hello segments throughout the whole podcast. And if we ever do more of these, there will be a new form to fill out. And but if you can still fill out this form if you want. I'm not sure if we're going to do any more podcasts, but maybe we will. So fill out the form if you're just feeling like filling out forms.
It's a beautiful form.
It's a beautiful form. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Keno for some background on the conference that we just had.
Yeah. So one thing we asked people to do yesterday, or rather this morning, is to send in just a short clip of themselves saying hello to the conference, just to highlight, I think, the global and diverse nature of attendees at this online conference. And usually at every JuliaCon we do a big all attendee photo, but obviously that doesn't work this time. So we collected some clips and we've cut them together into a short collage, I would say, of clips. And please enjoy the attendees of JuliaCon.
Hi, I'm Eric Davies, watching from my home in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Hi, I'm Thomas. I really enjoyed watching JuliaCon from my home in a suburb of Copenhagen, Denmark, called Bellevue.
Sziasztok, Csertek Tamás vagyok Magyarországról. A 2020-as JuliaCont a Velencei tó mellől néztem végig.
Hola, saludos desde Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Hi, my name's Travis. I built the JuliaCon web app, and I have been watching from surprisingly sunny Seattle, Washington.
Hi, this is Kyle, watching from Madison, Wisconsin.
Hola, mi nombre es Herriman y estuve viendo la JuliaCon desde Buenos Aires, Argentina.
I'm Tim Larson. I've been watching JuliaCon from Canton, Ohio, USA.
Greetings, fellow Julians. I'm Kosana. I've been watching JuliaCon 2020 from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. Yes, from Africa. The future of Julia is bright.
This is Jeff Bezanson in Cambridge, Mass. 10 print Hello World 20 go to 10.
Goeiedag, dit is Johan van Kerkhoven en ik volg JuliaCon vanuit Mechelen in België. Dank u.
Oi, meu nome é Abel Siqueira e estou assistindo o JuliaCon de Curitiba, Paraná, Brasil. 2021 espero estar lá para assistir ao vivo. Até mais!
Hello everyone, this is Tom Huang. I have been watching JuliaCon from Los Angeles, California this year. It's one of the nicest online conferences I have ever been to. Enjoy your time!
All right, thank you so much again to everybody who sent in those short clips. And I hope you got a sense of just how global the JuliaCon audience this year really was. We had submissions from around the world, and we were so happy to see everybody. And with that, I think it's time for our interview segment. So, Huda, why don't you take it away with Jane?
Thank you, Kenno. Yeah, Jane, do you not turn on your video now? Is it a good time?
Thank you for the cue.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I imagine you had a very long week. Or maybe not even a week, even more, because I'm imagining that preparations right before the JuliaCon week is even also a really hectic week. So I'm imagining you've been very busy for the past couple weeks.
It has been busy, but we've had an excellent organizing committee, so it's not so bad when you've got a team.
That's amazing. Yes, that's the spirit of Julia, teams.
Yeah.
So just to tell everyone, Jane, you are the executive chair or co-executive chair of the JuliaCon organizing committee this year, correct?
Right. Avik and I together are executive chairs.
You and Avik, correct. Let's write a little bit from the JuliaCon aspect, because I know we're going to talk more about it in just a couple of minutes, and maybe talk a little bit more about you and what kind of work you do. Maybe tell us what's your day job, and how did Julia become part of your life, and how did you first get started using Julia?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I got started with Julia a few years ago now. Probably 4. I don't know, something like 4 years ago. And I got started as a graduate student, so I brought it into my research to make things better and easier for me. That worked out pretty well. I also met some cool people along the way. And that was how I, through meeting people at the first JuliaCon that I attended, was how I ended up getting the opportunity to help out with JuliaCon. And I think 2018 was the first time. So that's
probably 17, if I'm remembering correctly.
Maybe that was when I definitely spoke at 2017, but
okay.
Yeah. In any case, that was how
So you've been involved in organizing JuliaCon. So you're saying you've been involved in organizing JuliaCon since 2018. So JuliaCon.
Right. So this is the third one that I've helped out with.
That's amazing. Yeah, I thought. Yeah. Wow.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I got started as a graduate student with the language, and I just stopped being a graduate student in February or June, depending on how you count. But I defended in February.
Congratulations, Dr.
Yes, thank you. It was quite the relief after quite the long time as a student. Yeah.
The relief.
But yeah, so now I'm working at Lawrence Livermore National Lab as a technical consultant with the supercomputer there, Livermore Computing. So that is my day job.
That's amazing. And do you use any Julia in your current day job? I know you've used Julia in grad school, but has this stayed with you after grad school?
I haven't used it much yet. What I work on is largely driven by what our users want and have the most interest in. And so I've mostly used Julia in the context of, like, if I have something that I want to teach or like draft docs on or something like that. I was working on making a tutorial, I guess, on using containers the other day, and I find myself like playing with Julia containers and showing people how to run a Julia script within a container. So I like bring it in here and there, but not as much as in grad school at this point.
I see. Yeah. So yeah, you try to bring in Julia to your work. You've already been very involved in organizing JuliaCons, which is a really, really tough task, and hats off to you for working on that aspect of Julia for the past 3 years. But also I want to highlight one other aspect you do for the language, and that is a lot of, you've actually worked on a lot of outreach projects and organized. I mean, I think the introduction to Julia on Julia Academy is a course that you've prepared, and you've organized and prepared a lot of educational material. Do you want to tell us a little more about this?
Sure, yeah. So I got hired to work for Julia Computing in 2018, or I guess technically the very end of 2017. And I spent a year there while I took off some time from graduate school. And the purpose of that role was to increase diversity in the Julia community, work that has since been taken up by many very active people, like yourself, for example, and Logan Kilpatrick, and many others. But yeah, as that, I guess my approach to making the language more inclusive was to try to have more teaching materials out there, because I figured the barrier to entry is often one of the reasons that people don't get started with something, because it's intimidating. And Julia has been built by a lot of intelligent people, and I think that's sometimes scary for new users if you don't have as much background programming to read documentation that's written by experts, because just there's kind of a mismatch in expectations. So yeah, that was how I got involved with some of that.
That's amazing. Thank you for everything you've done, from preparing material to organizing to all the outreach programs. Jane is one of my favorite people in the community, and I think she's a wonderful organizer. So with that, we'll end this very quick section with you, Jane, but we'll move to Avik, and then we'll bring both of you at the end to talk specifically about this JuliaCon. Thanks for joining us now. Thank you. Bye. And now we will move to Nathan, who will be interviewing our next guest, Ahan Sengupta.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, Avik, you can come right off the video mute. Hello.
Yes, can you hear me? My daylight has gone because it's dinner time where I am. So unfortunately, the lighting isn't that great, but hopefully you can see me.
No, you have the same dramatic lighting I had last night, or 2 nights ago when we filmed, where it's like blue on one side and yellow on the other, like from the set of a high school theater production. Yes. I like it. Yes. Well, why don't you start by telling us, where you're located and what you do?
Yes, I am in currently almost sunny London. I've lived in London for a while now, and I work for Julia Computing, where I lead the teams that develop our commercial products. And I lead a distributed team that's pretty much all over the world. And I am located at a time zone in the center, so that helps.
There's so many questions, and then of course also you are the other co-executive chair for JuliaCon with together with Jane, and we're going to talk about that more.
Yes, this. Absolutely.
But thank you for everything you've done here as well. Like Huda was talking about, I'm sure it's been a busy couple weeks.
It has not much sleep in the last week, but it's been fun. It's always fun, which is why I keep coming back, even though the particular weeks in July are always stressful, but it's always fun.
Yeah, agreed. We have a good time as the audience too, as the participants. How did you get connected with Julia Computing in the first place?
So I started with developing Julia a long time before I actually connected with Julia Computing. I started developing Julia, I suppose, before there was a Julia Computing. I made a few PRs, created a few packages, and a few years after that, the Julia Computing guys got started, and when they had an opening, they just reached out. The community was much smaller at that point, and probably that was one of the reasons why they chose to reach out to me. But glad they did, and it's been fun since 2016 now, I think, that I started formally with Julia Computing.
That's amazing.
So it's been a while.
What was your area before this?
I have spent most of my life writing Java programs for investment banks. And so I spent many, many years doing that.
So as a software engineer would be
as a software engineer, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And so I've written sort of risk and trading systems for various investment banks as a consultant, as a direct hire. And but yeah, I haven't written Java since the last 5 years. So that's been
good for you.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. I was curious because I think there's not a lot of I actually think, despite this being a programming language community conference, there's not that many software engineers here. I'm one as well. But of course, a lot of the community is like more from hard sciences or even from as computer scientists. Which I guess is different.
So in the first JuliaCon that I visited in Chicago, which was when 2014. Maybe 2014. Yeah. So my talk was using Julia in production. So yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, it's nice. Well, I'm glad that it's nice that we have this too, this aspect. I know we at my company, we definitely rely on some of the open source tools like AWS.jl and these other business production tools for running Julia in production that you guys have been maintaining. So it's much appreciated. How have things changed like in the last couple years after 1.0, like in terms of your role at Julia Computing and in terms of like how Julia Computing is connecting with the rest of the community? How has that relationship changed or experience changed?
I think a lot of our success obviously depends on how many Julia developers there are and how many companies are using Julia for sort of production workloads. And obviously since Julia 1.0 in the last 2 years now, that has increased quite dramatically, right? And I think that's visible to everybody in the community. Our discourse posts have gone up, our Slack volumes have gone up, and I think it's fair to say that as a result, our business is obviously therefore been more attractive for our clients. So the number of clients that we have, the number of people that we work with have certainly grown over the last few years. It's still early days for the language, compared to say Python or R, but it's enough to keep us going, and we only see an upward trend from now on. So yeah, all good. And touch wood.
What was the last thing you said?
Touch wood.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly. Yes, agreed. I don't think we need the luck. I think that things do seem like they're in the right direction. Yeah, that's great. Well, okay, I think we're basically at time here too. So maybe we can bring. Thank you for the interview, Avik, and then maybe we can bring Jane back on and I guess start our panel session about JuliaCon.
Hey, Jane.
Hi.
Hi, Jane's cat.
Oh yeah, we should see more about the cats.
She wanted to say
What did you say the cat's name was?
This one is Gem, GEMM,
Hi,
the
Gem.
general matrix multiply.
I love that so much.
I'm so proud of their names. It took me a long time.
And your other cat's name is?
Nan.
Yes.
Like there's something about picking the right names in the Julia community in general. Like everyone wants to pick really good names.
Yeah, that's true.
Even us, like we try to find good names for the episodes, and we spend so much time thinking about it.
All right, so let's talk about JuliaCon. So, when did organizing for this get started, and how did the switch to an online conference affect things?
And why don't we? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, gosh, when did we get started? I think we started, it was literally, I remember the conversation we had during last year's JuliaCon, where we started kind of laying the groundwork for thinking about locations. I don't remember when we actually settled on Lisbon, but I think it was sometime after that in the fall that we started actually having meetings. Does that sound right, Avik?
Yes. Surprisingly, this year we decided we wanted to start early compared to Baltimore or even London. And so we decided on Lisbon, I think in September. Compared to Baltimore, that was like 3 months ahead of schedule. We got the venue, we started getting sponsors. And of course, then COVID hit in February, March. And by February, we were almost ready to go. We had AV settled in Lisbon. We had the room layout planned. We had, the food menus planned. We had the party organized.
Wow.
I forgot about the party.
We had a boat for the party.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We had food for everybody.
Now I worse.
We were settling menus, so we were looking like breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Wow.
And we were really ahead of schedule. And
wow.
Really on top of our game.
Wow.
But fate had different plans. So
well,
here we are.
What about next year? Are these plans gonna just be pushed for next year?
Largely, or to the extent that they can be. We're hoping so.
Do you have any projections to the future?
Well, clearly, if we were good at that, we wouldn't have gotten so far with planning Lisbon for 2020. But if things are in a better place in July of 2021, we are hoping to go to Lisbon then. And Vivaldo has been great about helping organize on that end, and the university there, ISCTE, is very happy to have us, assuming all goes well. So hopefully everybody's traveling in a year. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think we do have the rooms booked formally for next year in Lisbon.
Oh, wow.
So if we can travel, we will be there. I think whether we go there, the people to answer it are the people in our community who I imagine are working on vaccines. So if vaccines happen, then we will be there. If vaccines don't happen, then probably.
Gotta fix those Julia bugs, otherwise the vaccines won't happen.
Exactly. So that's where we are. The plans are there; they just need to be dusted off.
Yeah. So how did the switch to online? Like, what? I imagine that was a massive change in the way that the committee was organized and the committee was structured and the activities. So how did that happen? And how frantic of an activity was that?
Well, I guess there was sort of a gradual, reckoning with reality or something, where I think in March probably was when we started having the conversation, like, what if this isn't better by the summer? Which now seems like an interesting question. But we started talking about the possibility of online in March. So it's in the back of our minds. And we said, okay, we'll decide in, I think we said June, or maybe it was the end of May. But in any case, we ended up making a decision at least a couple of weeks before when we originally set the deadline, because it was pretty clear at some point, I think in early May, that we would not be meeting in person. One of the big changes was that we decided we needed to have a web app that many of you have probably seen, where you can go to the live schedule at juliacon.org and watch videos from within the browser. And we didn't have anybody on the committee at that point who had the expertise to do that. And so that was when we kind of drafted Travis DePrato, who was excellent, came in and ran that for us with the help of others as well, but he really led that effort. Sorry.
Yeah, so Travis has been critical to get the web app and the conference, therefore, happen. We thought a lot about what feel we wanted to give for the conference, because on one hand, doing an online conference gives you the ability to widen the net by a huge amount, right? People who can't travel for financial or physical reasons, but also people who are more casual users of Julia, right? Who don't want to put in the commitment to travel across the world to a conference. So we can get both those kinds of audience into the conference. So it was important to address that, to ensure that the conference is accessible across the world. So one of the decisions we took early on is that we wouldn't have a fee, right? Even though we could have a smaller fee, but still a fee. And some conferences are doing that. But on the other hand, JuliaCon has a very unique feel where the community comes together, right? For a year in a week, for a week in a year. And people come together, talk to each other, meet the authors of the program that they're using in their research, and vice versa, do hackathons together, make friendships, hire. So all of these happen at JuliaCon, right? Because our community in that sense is quite close-knit. Maybe because we are a small community, but there is more connections than a random programming language community on the internet. So we really wanted to keep that feel. So while we did want to open out the field, make it more accessible, we still wanted to have a sense that the community is coming together. And that sort of drove the design of the conference, where we had all the talks pre-recorded, but we still played them on a schedule. Instead of a lot of conferences are doing this, where the talks are coming out on YouTube in the 2 weeks before the conference, so you watch on your own time, and then maybe you come in on a Zoom call or a Zulip chat and ask questions to the speakers at a certain time during the day, right? We didn't want to do that because we wanted to feel that people are coming together in time and if not in space, right? So even though the world took space away from us, we still wanted to keep time in our control, if that makes sense. So with all that, I think Travis has made a great effort in ensuring that this vague design idea that we had in April is concretized in this web app that he has built. So it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. No, I mean the web app has been working great. I mean, given that it's the first time it's been used, I mean, no software ever works the first time.
Exactly.
So I'm amazed that it did work, and I think we've had actually several guests on who remarked during this week that they were so impressed with the work that you guys in the organizing committee have been doing in getting this conference up and running without so much as a technical glitch.
There were a few, but
at least as far as we were able to see. So that's my next question. How was this week like? Were there any glitches that we didn't see, and anything else that happened this week?
There were a few glitches. I don't think it detracted too much from people's enjoyment. We had a few videos mislabeled. We had a few videos that didn't play at the right time, so we had to go scrambling to fix them. But overall, people got to see all the videos. There was one talk which we couldn't play on time at all, but that we rescheduled in a couple of hours. So, that was good. We had a couple of sponsor talks that were mislabeled, so that was a bit annoying. But overall, I think things worked. I think the Discord chat was quite active. The speakers, I hope, felt that people were engaged with their content. I thought every talk got a reasonable amount of engagement on chat, which was pretty good. The one difficult part that we didn't know what to do was posters, because how do you do a poster session online? We had some vague idea of how we wanted to do the talks online, but the poster sessions were, I think, we had no clue. All we could think of, we throw the posters on a web page and see what happens. And what happened was that basically Pamela and Miguel today and Pamela on the first day took it upon themselves to moderate those poster sessions. So they got the poster presenters to talk about their posters on the chat channel, and that worked really well. We had some technical difficulties with the posters in that, poster sessions are scheduled together. So in terms of the scheduling software, they don't understand how poster sessions work, and so we had problems with how to display which posters are where. So there were some issues around that. But I think between Pamela on Wednesday and Miguel today, they did a great job in collating the posters, coordinating the speakers, and that's been a learning. So if you have to do this again, thanks to these two, we now know how to do it. So I think that's been a big part of the last 3 days.
That has occurred to me, and yeah, it's not something I wouldn't call it regret per se, but I have been thinking like, oh, we've learned so much, we must be able to like capitalize on this somehow, like spread this knowledge.
Is there a way, or is there any talks? I think I saw something on Discord this morning about people asking if like it's going to be hybrid in the future, some sort of a physical conference in a place, but still like try to have all this interaction online for whoever couldn't make it. Are there any talks about that?
Only at the level you just gave, to my knowledge. I mean, we've acknowledged that it would be nice if we could continue having this kind of reach, right? But I think it would take a lot of careful planning to find what ways, and even if there are ways that we could really do that well. Because I mean, for example, like if there's a BOF going on in person and then you bring people in on Discord, it's not really going to be the same for the people that aren't in the room physically. So yeah, that'll take some consideration to see what we can do there, but it would be really nice if there's a way that we can pull that off in future in-person JuliaCons.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was, from where I stand and from the people I've talked to, it seems like it was a great success. So it would be nice to capitalize on it. I completely agree.
It would. It's, we've had, 20,000 viewers, unique viewers on our YouTube channels in the last week. 23,000, I think. We had about 1,200 people join on Discord. So it's certainly been, orders of magnitude greater.
Yeah, and registrations.
The physical JuliaCon does.
More than 10,000.
Registrations were 10,000. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
10,000 registrations. There's 20,000 unique viewers on our YouTube channels.
How does that compare to unique viewers last year? Do we know?
Much. Last year, unique viewers on our website, on our YouTube channel, don't quote me on it, even though I'm on the internet. Probably around 4,000 or 5,000 over the week.
Wow,
so
that's a big change.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, wow.
So I think the whole, the Places of JuliaCon channel has been a great amount of joy to me. Amazing photos from amazing parts of the world. And so I think that's, I hope you guys create a collage of that and put it on the video.
Oh, we have the video collage that we showed earlier on this podcast.
You do indeed.
All right, so I think we are getting close to time, and I know, Jane, you have a hard stop in 10 minutes, but I just wanted to ask you guys, what was your favorite moment, either from the conference itself or from the organizing process? What stood out to you this year that you'd like to share with everybody listening?
Mine is kind of silly. I mean, well, first off, I'll say there were a bunch of really great talks that I enjoyed. So maybe generally content, but there were several times throughout the conference where I felt like there were these little Easter eggs slipped into talks, where people told jokes, and I would just find myself laughing. I think those were my favorite moments. Like the first two that come to mind. There was the talk earlier today from Christopher where he was talking about putting PKG in airplane mode, and he was like, but that's not relevant anymore. So we made working in the park in a safely socially distanced, a social distance without Wi-Fi mode. And so there's that. And then Travis and Raj had a talk on computational textbooks where they were like, let's just say you pick some, our favorite trigonometric function. And he was like, and we'll pick sine because we're not monsters. And so it's like little things like that brightened my day, I guess.
Yeah, the talks have been fun. For me, obviously last week has been quite stressful, but on Friday, I was going through our list of registrations, just looking at some statistics, and I saw for the first time, I noticed that we have registrations from 115 different countries, and with a list that includes pretty much every country that you would have heard of. And so just looking at that one statistic, I think made me really pleased and gave me a second win for the rest of the week to see that what we have been doing does make sense and does resonate with people. So I think that's been one of my key moments in the last week or so.
All right, beautiful. Thank you both for all the work that you've put into organizing this, and obviously also thank you to the rest of the committee who's been tirelessly and without sleep, I imagine, working on this with you to make this happen. I think all of us are very grateful, and I imagine the community as a whole is very grateful to you for all the work that you've put in. And despite this not being in Lisbon and in person, I hope it's brought the community together a bit. And thank you again for all the work that you've done towards this. And with that, we'll let you go.
Thank you. Have fun, guys.
Thank you again for being on.
One of the highlights of the conference. So
yeah, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you for organizing the conference. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. So what a great week it's been. Thank you from the three of us, I think, to all the people who've been watching and listening and watching live, commenting and submitting photos and suggestions and comments and feedback and jokes and everything in between. We've had so many great guests on, and it's been a blast. So I wouldn't have done it any other way, despite how much work this was.
Thank you to Kenno for organizing this idea and pushing both of us through it. That's really great.
Oh no, I couldn't have done it without you guys. I mean, this is all the late night organizing that we did, just on Slack and on testing various video setups. And,
yeah, same. I'll add that I thank you to both of you. First of all, I did actually have so much fun doing this with you too. And all the late night planning and getting things to work last minute. I do have a special thanks to everyone who was watching us on the live YouTube, because I think this crowd was bearing with us exceptionally, more than everyone else, just because they waited on, every time we say, oh, it's 2 p.m. and then 2:30 p.m. and we haven't started yet.
2:25.
So thanks to everyone who showed up for the live streaming and was there for us. Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to echo that. I think we've been hearing from people that the podcast has made this feel a little bit more in person and close, but the three of us, I think, get the selfish benefit that it's made it way more in person and close. So I just want to appreciate you two as well for helping to make this conference so much more fun for me. And thank you to all of our guests and to the live stream and everybody who's been engaged with the podcast. Each of you have made this so much more fun for us. And so if this podcast continues into the future, we may like do some kind of rotating host situation. Highly recommend hosting this podcast because it really is a blast. So if you're watching this, maybe this could be you one day. Fill out the form that we will inevitably have.
Eventually, I'm not sure we'll have it. We'll find a form somewhere and send it out somehow. Something will happen at some point in the future. How's that for being definitive?
So thanks.
All right.
And
so I
finally,
think this is it.
Special thanks to Elliot, right? Our editor.
Yes. Special.
Elliot, thank you
to
so
Elliot.
much for everything you've been doing. I have a confession to make. I think since you started editing, we maybe became a little more sloppy with like, oh, we'll cut this. So, yeah, thank you so much.
All right. So with that, I think for the final time, bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you.